los geht's. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your time zone. Great to have you in our YouTube stream again. And today we continue the SAP Cloud Lifecycle Management Webcast Series. Today we will talk about data transition validation. And our expert speaker for today is Boris Rubart, who is Product Manager in Cloud and Lifecycle Management of SAP. He already provided several sessions in our Cloud Lifecycle Management Webcast Series, and I will place the link with all the sessions that already took place in the live chat. My name is Larissa Brinkman from the SAP Global User Groups organization, and I'm your host for today. We kindly ask you to post your questions in the live chat, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. We hope for an interactive session, and with this, I kindly ask Boris to take over.
Thank you very much, Larissa. So warm welcome from my side as well. As mentioned, my name is Boris, and I'm working as a product manager for the software update manager for topics on system conversion and on data transition validation. So that is the topic for today. We start with a disclaimer. It may be that I mention some features that are not yet available. We cannot guarantee this. That's why we have posted the disclaimer for you. So, as already mentioned, this is a part of a larger series. The overall series is called SAP Cloud and Lifecycle Management Webcast Series. And from this series, I have listed an extract here with the sessions that are around the software update manager, around system conversion. I've done a couple of them already. Now, today we are here at the data transition validation tool that has a prerequisite that you have a rough understanding on what a system conversion is and what kind of tasks are executed there. We finish up this part of the overall series with a session next week on the technical downtime optimization app by my colleague Jens again. Now back to the actual session here. The session is on data transition validation, and the session shall provide an overview what DTV, data transition validation tool, is when you use this, what the benefits are compared to other approaches, how you use the tool, and where you can find more information. That is the agenda. So what is the scenario? The scenario is that you either execute a system conversion. So you transition one ECC source system with the approach system conversion into an SAP S/4HANA system. Then you can use data transition validation to compare the business data before this activity and after the activity. So it's an SAP tool to automatically compare data, check the quality of the data before and afterwards, and show the comparison results for an easy analysis whether they are fine. We started with this tool for the scenario of a system conversion. Meanwhile, you can also use this tool for an update or upgrade of an existing SAP S/4HANA system to a higher release or to a higher support package stack. So now we have two scenarios that are supported by data transition validation. That is either the system conversion from ECC to SAP S/4HANA or the upgrade of an existing SAP S/4HANA system. That's in general the scenario when you can use the tool. So in the tool, we define a source status and a target status. Obviously, you see what the source and target is for those scenarios. Target in both cases is the SAP S/4HANA system. And then the tool will create an extract from the source, create an extract from the target, compare this and display it to you in such a illustrational way. You see here tab work list items, the source and target, and this is showing all the entries that are equal. Of course, there are some things to be defined. What kind of data would you like to compare between source and target? And this illustration or this screenshot already shows that obviously this tool is implemented in ABAP. So it's part of the ABAP stack and will be configured and executed in ABAP as well. Details will be shown on the following slides. So what's the scenario and what's the benefit? When do you use it? Data transition validation is a tool that is provided by SAP. As already mentioned, it's ABAP implemented in ABAP, and we will see and discuss how you can get this tool, how you implement the tool. And it's provided by SAP for usage in your project, in your S/4HANA upgrade project, or in your SAP S/4HANA conversion project. You can use this as a partner, as a customer on your own. The idea is a data validation during these two scenarios that we have mentioned. And with this, you can get rid of the manual spot checks before and after the activity by using this tool, because it automates these activities. The tool as such is consisting of a framework, and it's also delivering content. So we talk about pre-delivered content that is available in the tool. So specific reports and transactions are pre-delivered with the tool for the validation. These are, for example, reports that are mentioned in the SAP S/4HANA conversion guide anyhow that you should use for validation. And those are embedded into the tool as a content embedded in the framework. You compare the data prior and post the conversion or the S/4HANA upgrade activity. And for using DTV, you do not need a dedicated separate system. So it is executed in the respective system. That means for a system conversion, you first execute the tool in the ECC source system to get the kind of start status. You execute the tool in the same system after the conversion. So afterwards, of course, it's the S/4HANA system, same system, but now converted to SAP S/4HANA. And then you use the tool to display the differences there. The tool as such is delivered as part of the SAP Basis software component. That is a software component that is existing in the classical business suite world, so part of the ECC source system, and it's part of the S/4HANA world as well. For the target system as such, the tool is part of SAP S/4HANA 2021 with the initial shipment. That is containing the initial version of the tool. And for the source system, but also for the target system, if your support package level of your source system is not sufficient so that the basis component already contains the tool as part of an SP stack, then you use our concept of transport-based correction instructions, TCIs, to implement the tool. So you apply those transport-based correction instructions using transaction as a node. That's the usual procedure that bundles the appliance of several nodes. And then you do have the tool in the source system available. That's the general approach. So that was already the scenario. It is for two scenarios that are been discussed already. And what is the advantage now? The advantage is that you have a reliable mechanism to compare huge amount of business data. So getting rid of manual spot checks that are time intensive, you have this framework to automate the process. The content is pre-delivered by SAP. So SAP is delivering those tests that we recommend. And the tool as such is executed. Well, it is executed during the downtime. So you could say, well, that will extend my downtime. But of course, you will use the tool to replace other activities that you anyhow do in downtime. So overall, we say it's a downtime reduction because you automate the comparison and you have an easy way to display potential issues between and after the conversion. So that's why via this automation, it's a downtime reduction possibility. The user interface is easy to consume, so business users can use the tool to define what has to be compared, and also to, of course, analyze the result that is shown in the tool as well. As mentioned, this avoids manual activities, and it's worth mentioning that the validation happens on business level and not on technical level. Well, what does it mean? You are experienced with the SAP S/4HANA system conversion. You have an ECC system. We have the target S/4HANA, and the data model has changed. That means the ECC source system has specific tables where business content is located, but SAP S/4HANA, as part of the simplification, is coming with a new data model and is coming with new database tables like AC.A, Universal Journal, like MATDoc. So the tool is not comparing on table level. That would not really match in such a conversion case, but it's comparing on business level using the delivered content, like transaction and the reports that are working independent of the underlying database model. Sorry. So let's have a short look on the sequence of activities here, how you use the tool as such. And for this, we have the list of activities, especially for downtime, that are executed partially by the Software Update Manager. Let's have a short look on this. The Software Update Manager is the technical engine for a system conversion. The uptime processing, where end users are still working on the system, is longer than shown here. Then we have the ramp down. The Software Update Manager will take care for migration if required, for component update, for data conversion from old to new table, database table model. The fin and material ledger data conversion happens, and then we have business validation and ramp up. These are the major blocks of the downtime. How do you use the tool now? First, of course, you have to make this tool available in the source system. That is currently typically the implementation of transport-based correction instructions, as already mentioned. So you will implement those TCIs so that the tool is available. Then you start the tool in the source system to define the scope of validation. That means you will pick out those reports and transactions, this pre-delivered content that is relevant for your test. Have to decide and agree in your project what to test. And then you run the system conversion until the downtime dialog, until the Software Update Manager tells you, I'm ready to enter the downtime. You will then log off the users and create the first data extract after users are logged off from the system, of course. Otherwise, after this first extract as a kind of status, end users would change those data, and we would have a discrepancy for the comparison later. So at the beginning of ramp down, obviously end users are no longer on the system, but the ABAP stack is available because the tool is executed in ABAP. Then you do the first extract based on the definition beforehand. You continue the downtime activities that are defined here, the usual procedure, there's no change. And then you create the second data extract at the end, right before ramp up. That would be the second part as a kind of business validation. And then the tool allows you to compare the results. That's the general procedure. Let me have a short break. Sorry. So that is the overall frequency. And of course, after you've done the comparison of the results, you can continue with the remaining conversion activities until the system is then up and running. That's the general overview. There's a different possibility to display this rather on the steps that are to be executed in the tool as such. In the tool, you will have to define a project ID for your task of business validation and a name for this. You will maintain two system status. Again, we just have one system. It's the source system, ECC, that is to be converted into an SAP S/4HANA system. So either it's the source or the target system. Defining these systems does only mean there's one status before and one status after the conversion. The tool as such is part of the system. We do not need a third or a different system from where we execute the conversion. We decide to import the pre-delivered content provided by SAP into this project. There you decide which of those check reports to use. You maintain global data like company code to be used. You specify the test parameters, which data to be tested there. You may execute a simulation to check the extraction of the data, to check, for example, memory size and specifications. And then you can run the first extract from the source. That means right on the downtime dialog, you do this as discussed. Then you execute the conversion as such, and then you extract the data from the receiver or from the target system as such. And you can trigger the data comparison between those two systems in the sense of system status. And you can validate the results. In the system as such, it's an ABAP transaction that you use. This is a screenshot where I have obviously used my name for the project ID and the name for it. There is a version project status. So these are the steps to be done. These are mainly the steps that are listed here on the left-hand side. So maintain the systems, system status, then rules, pre-delivered content to be imported, test specification, and the execution of the data extraction, which is done twice before and after the conversion. Overall, there will be typically different users to be part of the project. So there's customers, end users, and consultants that may be SAP or non-SAP consultants or partners that are familiar with the tool as such. And this is just a different illustration of what we have already seen. So the project setup maintains test specification, maybe some advanced configuration, extract data from the source, then execute the system conversion or the S/4HANA upgrade, the scenario for which DTV is meanwhile also available, extract data from the target status, data evaluation, display results, verification, and then go live. So that is the overall idea. And you would, of course, repeat this. You will start in Sandbox to get familiar with the approach as such, with the tool, and then fine tune which reports to use for the data validation. That's as said, simply a little different illustration of the procedure. So that was the sequence of activities. At the end of our little journey on data transition validation, as the overview, where to find more information. So first of all, there is the guide on DTV to be found in the SAP Help portal listed here. Data transition validation documentation in the Help portal. Then in the SAP community, there are blog posts. I started with the first blog post, a very very short overview, basis overview, and Sheldon, a colleague, has created an excellent blog with much more detail. So I recommend the second one that is not written by me. And the entry point for you is definitely the central SAP node on data transition validation that lists the respective nodes where you find the TCIs, for example, this content to be imported so that in the source you have the tool available. Now, as an additional list, you may know that SAP has a similar tool for business data validation, and this tool is called ADVF, Landscape Transformation Validation Service. So that's the basic differences. In case you came across the LTVF, that is an SAP service offering. What I have explained to you, the data transition validation tool, is a tool that is delivered from SAP for you, for partners and customers, without additional license or fees. It's part of the standard maintenance. It can be used by you directly. No registration. You just implement the tool, you define it, you run it, and then you're fine. ADVF as such is a service offering, so that's not a separate tool that you can use. You can engage our experienced SAP consultants here that are offering this service, and this has an extended scope, so that supports almost any report for checks, including customer reports. That is not possible with DTV. There we have just the reports delivered by SAP. Reports that we extend step by step, but no possibility to create your own report and embed it into this framework. Tools are a bit different delivered here. I told you that the DTV tool is delivered as part of the basis or respective TCIs to be implemented. ADVF allows detailed analysis even on table level. That's possible. That's something we do not have in scope for DTV. And LTVF especially is enabled for NZDT. Now, that's a big topic as well. Near zero downtime technology is an SAP service to drastically reduce the downtime for your system conversion, for example. So that is offered by SAP. That's not a tool that you can use as a customer or partner on your own. It's an SAP offering that is there to assist you if you have drastic downtime expectations. And for those projects, LTVF can be used as well. For DTV, this is not the case, especially since DTV is part of the system as such, as described. So it's part of the ECC source system. We do not have a separate system, but that would be required for the NZDT approach, that you have a separate system for comparison. That's why NZDT projects can use LTVF, but DTV does not apply for those projects with high demand on downtime reduction. Now, something else in the appendix is the supported path. That brings us to the numbering of DTV. So DTV 1.1 was obviously the first one that was delivered. DTV 1 was delivered with the initial shipment of SAP S/4HANA 2021. That means with DTV 1.0, you can use the tool for a conversion to 2021 or higher. If you have a project, right now I would doubt you have it, but if you would have a project from ECC to SAP S/4HANA 2020, then obviously this target S/4HANA release does not contain the DTV tool as such, but nevertheless, you would be able to implement those transport-based correction instructions for SAP S/4HANA 2020, and then the tool would be available there as well. Yeah, that's the overview. Of course, DTV 1.1 was shipped as well, meanwhile, with feature package stack 01 of 2021. And of course, it's part of the feature package stack 2 as well. Why do I not list SAP S/4HANA 1909 or lower releases? Those releases are no longer supported for a system conversion. That's the one part of the spectrum. That's not related to DTV as such. It's just system conversion allows you to target 2020 or 2021. But now, as we have October 12th of 2022, this is the day where SAP S/4HANA 2022 was made generally available. And for this, we will provide in the near future the DTV 1.2 version as well. So it's about versioning. Let's have a short look on the next slide. I told you about DTV 1.0 that was initially released with 2021 initial shipment. DTV 1.1 was released later and includes already the S/4HANA upgrade scenario that I have described you. There are some improvements on job handling, on summary sheet, and we have extended the content of those pre-delivered reports and transactions for checks. Now for DTV 1.2 to be expected soon, disclaimer, SAP Labs preview. There we will release the tool for SAP S/4HANA 2022 initial shipment. Again, some performance tuning, enhanced extraction and simulation logic. We expand the pre-delivered content as well. And we also support lower SAP S/4HANA lower releases for the upgrade case, not for the system conversion case. So final slide here on the numbering is DTV 1.2 disclaimer, coming soon, will be there and will be part of the initial shipment of SAP S/4HANA 2022. So you can implement the transport-based correction instructions on your ECC source system to run the tool there. After the conversion, the tool is delivered with the delivered content of the product target version, and then you can do the second extract. You can, of course, use DTV 1.2 also for lower target release. Then you would have to implement the TCIs. And you can imagine a similar metrics is existing for the other scenario that you do not do a system conversion, but an SAP S/4HANA update or upgrade. That was my little journey on data transition validation, short introduction. Again, the tool is available for you. Technically, you can implement it typically with TCIs. There's no additional fee or license requirement, no requirements, no registration available or required. And that's our tool that will support you for the system conversion, focusing on the validation of business data. Let's see what kind of questions you do have.
Thank you, Boris. This time it was really short and very crisp. Everything was, the entire information was very condensed. So I hope it helps our listeners to understand the essence of this tool and this service. And I'm checking the chat and we have the first question. Is the tool already generally available in brackets no pilot mode?
Yes.
If we wanted to move from SAP ECC 6 to S/4HANA 2021?
Yes, it is. Thank you for asking. Let me go back to the previous slide here. So if your conversion or upgrade target is SAP S/4HANA 2021, then the tool is available as part of the S/4HANA delivery. And for the ERP source system, you will have to implement transport-based correction instructions, most probably. Actually, the central node for DTV will tell you which support package for SAP basis is required. Then the tool is part of the ECC. Overall, it's generally available for target S/4HANA 2021. Yes.
The corresponding question to that one is also, with that tool, we no longer need to run FI reports to check the balance before and after the conversion.
If you are referring to the reports recommended in the conversion guide, yes, that is true. So the balance check is part of the pre-delivered content. That is true. Of course, the conversion procedure as such consists of various steps. There are, as you know, after the software update manager and downtime, there's the FIN data conversion where issues may show up. But in general, yes, that's the idea, to have this bundled in the DTV tool.
One more corresponding question to previous ones. Which SAP functional area are covered by data validation tool, FI, MM, SD, what else?
Yeah, that's a crucial point, of course. The question, what's the scope? I just said, well, the scope is extended. My recommendation is that you check the SAP node for DTV, the central node that is listed on one of the previous slides, because there exactly all those checks that are delivered are listed. And this is, of course, depending on the version of DTV, 1.0, 1.1, 1.2 in the future will be listed there. Not yet, but soon. So as far as I remember, we currently do not yet have MM reports there, but this is a usual question. So again, the central node will list those checks.
Okay, maybe you can put the link to the note in the chat so I can share it with with our audience.
Yeah.
And I move on to the next question. Does the DTV support NZDM? If yes, for large DBs, when taken the first snapshot, is it considered start of business downtime, or can business operations continue until downtime?
Okay. Let me try to show that on this scenario here. Sorry, this slide. So you mentioned in the question NZDM, and just to repeat it for everyone, NZDM is different to NZDT. NZDT is an SAP service to reduce downtime, and that was discussed at the end of the presentation. NZDM, near zero downtime maintenance, is a feature in the software update manager that may be used for an S/4HANA upgrade, and it may be used for an SAP S/4HANA system conversion if the source is already on HANA database. So valid question, how about, is it comparable? Yes, it is comparable. Of course, you will have to run the first extract after the NZDM replay is finished here. So that would be my answer on that.
I'm not sure the second part of the question was, for large DBs, when taken the first snapshot, is it considered start of business downtime, or can business operations continue until downtime?
I'm not sure what business separation means. Maybe I'm not familiar enough with the downtime procedure. So the essential part for me is that the first extract is executed when all the end users are no longer in the system. If there are no changes on the business data, then you do the first extract. If there would be change of business data after the first extract, then you would have a mismatch. Hopefully that hits the question.
Yeah, it seems then you can't continue business operation until downtime. So the follow-up question to this is, does the DTV tool run as background job? How long will it take generally for the tool to do first snapshot and second snapshot, especially for large DBs? DBs, I think these are databases.
Yeah. Valid question as well about the performance of the tool. I cannot provide you a real rule of thumb on this. The usual answer, it depends, of course, on the amount of data. So the concern as such is, of course, valid. On the other hand, I would say the idea of this business time. So,
Boris, we can't hear you for a moment.
Yeah, I had the impression as well. My internet connection does not seem stable. Let me repeat this. Hopefully
yeah, maybe go off camera and repeat the answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good part. Stop video. So the question on how long does it take to do the extract, the first extract or the second extract, is valid. And this, of course, first depends on the amount of data that you're going to check based on the project definition. I cannot provide the rule of thumb. I cannot provide any metrics how long it takes, as it depends on your data and the performance of the host. On the other hand, I say, well, the tool replaces manual activities where you will have similar runtimes or longer runtimes. Now this is automated with a tool. will have to be checked in the project by the first test runs.
Okay, thank you. I hope their answer was understandable. Also from the quality, let us know if something was, if you missed something, pieces of information. We have one more question in the chat. Is that tool, I think DTV tool is meant, compatible with S/4HANA DMO with system move downtime optimized, in brackets, when we do the FI post conversion before the downtime?
So I take the question as, is it compatible with downtime optimized conversion?
Mm-hmm.
As an explanation for everyone, downtime optimized conversion means we reduce the downtime by already executing activities in uptime, migration if required, and financial data conversion in uptime. And that is a good question. I guess we'll have to restrict this in the respective node for DTV because there's data replay. Yeah, good point. I would think about this, and we will enter a respective phrase in the central node for DTV. I guess that is possible. That's my first impression, since for the first extract here on the source, we compare or we extract the data that are in the source tables. And although there's replication ongoing afterwards, this is not affecting the tables in the source level. Yeah, but I will take this question to be followed up and to be mentioned in the DTV central node.
Okay, thank you very much. So there is one more question for me. Last week, I asked a question in the chat regarding Canadian SAP customer who need to apply HR support packages once a year. I'm not sure, Boris, did you have a chance to follow up on this part?
Unfortunately not.
Maybe we can do it like this. If there is a possibility to follow up, would be great if you can also involve me in this process. And the author or our listener from in the chat, maybe you can contact me on LinkedIn under my name, Larissa Brinkmann, so I can follow up with you there. This would
Very
be
good.
the best,
Yeah,
the best
very
option, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So the next one, and how it is nightmarish to combine HR support packages in the middle. Okay, so I assume that what you are asking now is also connected to this HR support package. What we will do after this session, we will combine all the questions that you stated about HR support. So we have it consolidated, and then kindly ask Boris to follow up. And as I've already indicated, if you can contact me via LinkedIn, I will then can be in touch with you on the possible actions in this on this question.
Very good. Thank you for moderating this.
Exactly. It seems that this question is crucial for Canadian customers. Yeah, then we definitely do our best to provide the best possible service in this case. So, do we have more questions on the topic of today on data transition validation? I can't see more questions in the chat. If not, again, the PDF of this session will be available for download in the video description to this video on YouTube, SAP community channel under the same link. So feel free to leverage this link, these materials for your convenience. And as I can't see more questions in the chat, I thank you, Boris, for your presentation. And thank you to all the listeners of our session. Next week, we will continue with the next sessions on Cloud Lifecycle Management series. We will have Jens again on 20th of October. So if you would be great to welcome you in one of our upcoming sessions. And with this, thank you very much. Have a nice day and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.